sparring?
I'm sparring a bunch of world champion heavyweights. I think Lawrence Okolie did that to me. He's like 6'6", 270.
Jake Paul let us see that he has a massive black eye from sparring the heavyweights in his camp, which we've talked about in previous videos are good heavyweights, maybe not the greatest in the world, but heavyweights nonetheless that I think would be beaten by Anthony Joshua. We also have Anthony Joshua looking oiled up. Listen, I'm not here to glaze, but it looks like they put some of that on.
Breaking. Jake Paul accidentally exposed himself after getting knocked out in sparring. He essentially handed the world proof that he isn't built for heavyweight danger. One bruised eye, one swollen face, and suddenly he's admitting that Lawrence Okolie shook him up in sparring. If a cruiserweight did that much damage, how is he supposed to handle a 250-pound Anthony Joshua? Music. Jake keeps repeating 100% like he's trying to reassure. Lawrence Okolie saying Jake Paul has no real skills, and openly claiming he already knocked him out in sparring, tells the whole story. If Okolie can hurt him with soft gloves and controlled power, imagine what Anthony Joshua does with full weight behind his punches. Jake Paul wouldn't survive a single round once a real heavyweight starts throwing with purpose.
You're gonna knock him out?
Yeah, 100%. I see holes in his game where I can land a big shot.
Okay.
100%. It's going to be a very, 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 very tough fight.
Do you think this is your hardest opponent?
Yeah, by far.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, bro, I'm just outgunned in every category.
Logan, what do you think about him fighting Anthony Joshua?
I think it's insane.
Yeah.
I think it's insane.
Oh,
But there's a reason why he's Jake Paul, and like this is
what he does.
Yeah. Like
when Anthony Joshua calmly repeats that Jake Paul is not on his level, it hits harder than any punch. This is a man who has shared the ring with world champions and Olympic-level fighters, yet he doesn't even see Jake as someone worth debating. It matches the storyline perfectly. Jake barely gets through sparring with heavyweights and now wants to face a man who destroys action.
Bigger gloves, so stuff like speed and like athleticism plays more of a factor because you're...
Anthony Joshua speaks with frustration because he understands what it takes to reach the top. Years of Olympic training, thousands of rounds, and constant pressure from elite fighters shape men like him. Meanwhile, Jake Paul skips the line with fame and wants a shot at someone who earned everything the hard way. The sparring story ties directly into this. Someone struggling behind closed doors now wants to face a man molded by decades of real boxing work.
You know we've been fighting 400 and still fighting to this day.
Lawrence Okolie saying he dropped Jake Paul with soft gloves shows the true gap between influencers and real fighters. If light punches and basic movement were enough to put Jake down, the picture becomes clearer. His bruised face gave away the truth. Now imagine standing across from Anthony Joshua, who hits with real weight, precision, and timing. Okolie hurting him in sparring becomes a warning of what happens when a full-sized heavyweight starts throwing with intent.
In hardcores, they don't like it because it's like, why are they disrespecting our sport? There's an Olympic system that you have to go through, and once you're qualified there, then you go through to the professional ranks. Whereas someone with a profile can just come out of nowhere.
Eddie Hearn breaks it down simply. Jake Paul sits between two labels, and neither protects him from what Anthony Joshua brings. He's far too inexperienced to be world-class, but too proud to admit he's still learning. That's why the sparring story matters. If Jake is getting damaged in private, stepping in with a man aiming to break him becomes more of a payday than a real competitive fight.
You've got bigger head guards, bigger gloves, so stuff like speed and like athleticism plays more of a factor.
Anthony Joshua saying he will break Jake Paul's face and body isn't casual trash talk. It's a reminder of the difference between real heavyweight violence and influencer bravado. Joshua has lived through career-changing punches like the Andy Ruiz upset and knows true danger. Jake Paul couldn't even hide a basic sparring injury. When a man who has crushed world-level fighters says he will walk through you, it becomes a reality Jake can't escape.
AJ's going in there to destroy him.
Sometimes people want to call him a professional boxer. When it suits them, they want to call him a YouTuber. The reality is, he is a professional boxer. He's nowhere near world class, and he's well out of his depth against Anthony Joshua. This is a straightforward bank job, and it's just going to allow AJ to gel with his new team. The profile's fantastic, the money's great, and then normal business will be resumed in 2026.
Moses Atama explains it bluntly. Jake Paul may have improved and earned some respect, but he's now stepping toward a man built from Olympic pedigree and heavyweight destruction. Nobody expects Jake to win because he has never been tested at this level. Sparring injuries already revealed how fragile he becomes under real pressure. Facing Anthony Joshua isn't about popularity. It's about surviving a level of power and skill Jake has never encountered.
If I'm going to be honest, I'm going to break his face, I'm going to break his body up, I'm going to stomp all over him.
Yeah, I mean, look at the last time they came to America and what the plans they had were. Andy Ruiz stopped that. So this is Andy Ruiz 2.0. It's a massive mistake to look past this, seriously. I'm knocking this guy out, becoming the CEO of Matchroom Boxing and changing the plans, and it's gonna be me versus Tyson Fury next year.
He wants to fight, rather than talking, be about it, don't talk about it. If you've got something to say and you need to prove yourself in boxing, the best way to do it is to let your hands go. So yeah, for me personally, you didn't see much talking from me. You come up here and we do the talking in the ring.
Derek Kizora explaining that sparring is only for learning shows why Jake Paul is misleading himself. In sparring, the guy who gets dropped can fix his mistake and keep working. In a real fight, that chance doesn't exist. Anthony Joshua isn't a man making rookie mistakes anymore. He's a polished heavyweight who has already removed the flaws Jake relies on. Once the bell rings, there's no learning curve. One wrong step and Joshua ends everything instantly.
I don't think anybody's expecting anything from Jake Paul. Like, he's fighting an Olympic gold medalist, two-time heavyweight champion of the world. He's a YouTuber. Like, do you know what? You gotta take your hat off to Jake Paul. He's done amazing. He's done very well. And even me, I don't think he's a bad boxer. You know, I actually think he's a decent boxer, but you're not on the caliber of obviously.
Frank Warren reminding everyone that closed-door sparring means nothing exposes how unprepared Jake Paul is. Behind the scenes, nobody tries to truly finish you, and nobody is watching. Under the bright lights, everything becomes real, and the pressure outweighs any punch. Calling this the biggest fight ever highlights the stage Joshua lives on. Jake Paul is still figuring out how to breathe under that spotlight, and he can't hide behind sparring stories once the cameras roll.
Sparring, you're there to learn. So the guy you knocked out in sparring, he's understand, okay, I did this silly move, that's how I got knocked out. So I'm gonna have to stop doing these silly moves.
David Hay saying Jake Paul is only 15 to 20% of Anthony Joshua makes the matchup feel like something that should never have been booked. Joshua is a heavyweight machine, bigger, stronger, more experienced, qualities Jake cannot replicate or catch up to. The moment they stand next to each other, the difference will be undeniable. Before a single punch is thrown, Jake will be facing a physical reality he cannot talk his way out of.
Remember, I don't see the sense of it. What do you want to go sparring for? Behind closed doors. Let all the fans see it. Do it in a ring, get paid for it. I mean, it's be the biggest fight ever.
Jake Paul admitting he is a little scared reveals what sits beneath his usual bravado. He has watched Anthony Joshua knock out seasoned professionals and witnessed the force behind punches that ended careers. When Jake says it's the biggest punch he has ever seen live, it becomes clear he knows exactly what's coming. Fear is normal, but fear at this level is a warning sign. Joshua does not give second chances, and Jake already feels the danger before the first bell rings.
Jake Paul can come 15-20% in regards to Anthony Joshua. He's a completely different specimen. Look, you'll see what it looks like when
Eddie Hearn describing how Anthony Joshua lives inside his training camp shows why his improvements outpace Jake Paul's progress. Every day, Joshua works with dangerous heavyweights, refines his tools, and builds a mindset shaped by real fights. For him, training isn't practice, it's survival. High-level sparring toughens him, while Jake is still adjusting to that intensity. That gap will show immediately on fight night. Joshua grows under pressure. Jake hasn't learned how to yet.
With fights that have literally ended in seconds. He fought legends, Klitschko, Usyk, Ruiz, Ngannou.
Biggest shot I have seen live.
I'm not gonna lie.
Adio calling it David versus Goliath perfectly captures the reality. Jake Paul may look imposing online, but standing across from Anthony Joshua, he becomes just another man facing a giant. Joshua's size, reach, strength, and skill combine into something Jake cannot match. One mistake, one clean punch, and everything shifts instantly. Jake has no margin for error.
In camp, living in camp, training with him day in, day out. And it made a big difference in the fights. I think he knows that the way that he's going to improve is time in the gym and also the quality.
David Adeli explaining that Joshua hits harder than people expect shows why Jake Paul is in real danger. Fans underestimate Joshua's combination of speed, precision, and raw power. He doesn't just throw punches. He lands deliberate, destructive shots that break experienced fighters. Jake has never faced anything close to that level. Training can help, but surviving Joshua is another story entirely. One clean punch could put him on the canvas.
As though Jake Paul is the bigger in this equation. Not for me. Maybe for MVP, Nikisa, Jake Paul, but not for me. I've kind of marked it or titled it David versus Goliath just because of the size difference. Like, Jake Paul's a big guy. He is. He's 6'1", 220. Probably fights around, the 200-pound mark. AJ is an enormous guy. Like, he's a big unit. And I think Jake realized that when they came face to face. I don't know if that's the first time they've ever come that close. I'm sure they've met behind the scenes. But I think there was a realization from Jake Paul, like, fuck, this is a big dude. It's a very big dude who isn't coming to play. Like, there was no play with.
Derek Chisora saying this is an easy fight for Anthony Joshua shows the size of the gap. Joshua won't hold back. He'll come forward to dominate and expose Jake Paul immediately. Jake's confidence will be tested in seconds because Joshua wastes no time. Every move Jake makes will be punished. From the opening bell, the difference between a real heavyweight and an influencer fighter will be obvious.
He hits harder than people expect, I think. I think a lot of people, obviously, they pick up on his boxing and how good of a boxer he is, but he hits harder than people expect.
Tony Bellew explaining the height and weight difference makes the fight look completely unrealistic. Joshua is taller, almost 100 pounds heavier, and built for elite combat. Skill isn't the only issue. The physical mismatch alone will dictate the fight. Bellew refuses to believe it until he sees them face to face because only then will the full reality be clear. Once they're in the ring, Jake will feel every ounce of that size, reach, and power working against him.
Easy fight for him. And I think this should be laid to rest because I don't think AJ's going to go in and try and pat it. AJ's going to smoke.
Joshua, who's now 5 inches bigger than you, maybe more, or 4 or 5 inches, and about 100 pounds heavier. You just don't go from there right up to there. I don't believe it. And I won't believe it until the two of them got 10-ounce gloves on in a boxing ring. Because if Anthony Joshua puts 10-ounce gloves on and gets in a boxing ring and Jake Paul is in the other corner, this won't last.
Sam Jones warning about permanent damage highlights how dangerous this matchup is. Joshua carries the kind of power that knocked out Francis Ngannou, and Jake Paul has never faced anything close to that. Even jokes become frightening when the truth is that one right hand could change everything. Jake may talk bravely online, but when he steps into the ring with a real heavyweight, the question becomes survival, not victory.
Listen, we can all joke, but nobody wants any permanent damage to happen to Jake Paul. But if Anthony Joshua hits Jake Paul with the right hand he hit Francis Ngannou with, he could brown bread him.
Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is shaping into a brutal clash of experience, size, and real power versus confidence and social media hype. Every clip reinforces the massive gap between them. Joshua is a polished world-level heavyweight who has faced legends. Jake is still learning to endure men built for true punishment. The sparring stories, the black eye, the fear Jake admits, all point to one truth. He's walking into a storm beyond his preparation. Joshua doesn't give second chances. Every punch he throws carries the weight of championship experience. If Joshua wins, it proves why only real heavyweights belong at this level. But if Jake Paul shocks the world, it becomes an upset for the ages. Are you backing Anthony Joshua, or do you think Jake Paul can do the impossible? Share your thoughts below.